What a way to start.
All right, we're good. Mayor?
Yeah. Okay, ready? We'll call the Devils Lake City Commission meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There we go. Okay, the minutes of the regular commission meeting held July 18th, 2022.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Hamry.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Robbins. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion, same sign, or opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The minutes of the special city commission meeting held on July 21st, July 25th, and July 27th of 2022.
Mayor Mo, members of the commission, we're still working on those. We were aspiring to have them done, but we're gonna punt to next week. We'll have those minutes for you guys to review and approve. So just,
Move to table them?
yeah, move to table, please.
Okay. Motion,
I'll make a motion to table that,
those 3 minutes.
yes.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Robbins, seconded by Commissioner Hamry. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Visitors and delegations, none? Not. We'll now go into portfolios, and we will start with Commissioner Hamry.
Mr. Grassgard.
One thing under utilities, the Corps will be here this week to do the dike inspection for us. So I'll be meeting with that group tomorrow morning, reviewing with the utility folks. They'll be on site tomorrow doing the inspection, Wednesday doing the inspection, and we'll do a recap probably on Thursday. So we're pretty fortunate. We still have the Corps involved with the flood protection project to make sure that the project is operating as designed. And they're doing their review, so they'll put together a full report for us, and any deficiencies we'll be correcting.
How's the boiler coming around out there? I hear it's sitting in pieces.
Yeah, the boiler's there. The one hanging heater got hung. The other one still hasn't arrived yet. I did send an email to the contractor late last week for a status update, and I haven't received that status update yet. I'll update you when I get that response from the contractor. Obviously, we have to make darn sure that everything's operable before the next heating season, of course, right? So that's the goal there. At this point, we had waited on the boiler because we wanted the hanging heaters installed first before the boiler was taken offline. And one of the hanging heaters showed up, it was damaged, got sent back. In this COVID world, you can't get anything. It takes months and months. And so to get a replacement took a long time. And then the next one showed up damaged again. And so that got sent back. And that's where we were at with the hanging heaters. So we couldn't do anything with the boiler until now, of course, it's summertime, right? So that can be taken offline. So as soon as I have an update, I'll give that to the commission.
Then another thing I just want to bring up. I've been talking with Miss Wheeler, and we were supposed to have that review done for the employees or whatever, and we got that 1-page thing during the budget explaining that. And so I was talking with her, and I brought up what's the term I want to use? Internal assessments. And so I asked her, I said if she's seen any entities that use those. And she says that they do have one entity that uses it as a sort of a performance evaluation tool on somewhat of a regular basis. They assess one department or functional area every year, and that they are on a 3 or 5 year rotation for doing that. So I was wondering if that was something we could look at doing, internal assessments. I mean, it works for the performance evaluation, but then it will also grab if we're having any issues that are rising early prior to them becoming big like we've seen in the history we've had.
So are you thinking having a confidential survey of your department? Is that what an internal assessment would be?
I wasn't I wasn't here for the original internal assessments that were done, but it looks like it's Tanya had sent them to me, but it looks like they're
I don't remember.
They were completed by the human resource person,
Oh, okay.
one-on-one. So
Oh,
there
that's
was
okay.
no,
Now,
there was no,
and then she gave us the results.
we tried to make it as independent as we could when they were completed.
That was maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago,
That's
something like that possibly.
would have been 5 because it would have been before I came on.
Okay. All right.
Because it worked. I mean, it's a two-way system there, where we can do the performance evaluation tool on it too.
You want to do this on an annual basis? Is that what you're thinking?
No, not an annual basis. Like, let's say we got 8 entities we have, so we could do a 2, 3, 3, and then that third year, then you'd start back over 2, 3, 3, where you weren't hitting every entity in the year.
And we do them at work every year. Everybody gets like a 60-page assessment form to fill out. It's supposed to be confidential. And they do everything from your immediate supervisor to all levels of the people that you work with and upper management. I've never been afraid of them, type of thing.
60 page?
That's 60 questions. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
60.
questions. Yeah,
When you said 60
yeah,
page, I was going,
It's in depth. Yeah, it's
how
one-
are they, who's going to fill that out?
One question per page?
Yeah, that too, yeah. But it's 60 questions, but
Okay.
yeah, it's piles of them. And then everything's kind of broken down into categories, the way the people that are paid to read it type of thing. I don't have an issue with it. I don't.
I'd say biannually would be perfect.
Biannually?
Every two,
Twice
once every 2 years, what I mean.
Oh, okay. I was going to
Every
say,
2 years, sorry.
no problem.
Every 2 years, every entity?
Mayor, members of the commission, definitely would be happy to inquire with Tanya as to, how labor intensive those typically are. If there are organizations that do it yearly like that, if they see a benefit of doing that every year. And if it's something that we want to chart forward here moving next year, that we can do that. So I'm happy to engage with her to see if there's a long-term sustainable system that we can put in place in that regard.
Okay. We just working on research on that right now, is that?
I mean, she's done them, so I mean, personally, I'd like to see them get implemented, and then we've got the data going into the next budget cycle, and you've got it as soon as possible. I see where you're coming from too, but it seems like anything that we try to bring forth here, it seems to get stalemated in research or talking, and
Do we have
Well,
to budget
I-
additional monies for this?
uh,
Is that going to require that? I'm guessing there's some more
it would be part of her contract.
you have to add to it.
Mayor, members, just, being here, a couple things I'd like to ask Tanya is, typically do organizations do these, as needed or on a routine basis? And, if they say, some people do a routine basis and they've seen a lot of value with it, I think we'll be happy to move forward. But if she would have if she has additional information, I'd just like to get that before we firmly chart a course forward. I have more questions than specific answers that I'd like to give you guys. Because the one thing I don't want to do as the administrator is I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, right? And there's probably already been a couple instances where maybe I said, hey, we're gonna have a website and it's planned to be launched here. It's not right. There's been a couple times where we've overpromised and underdelivered. I don't want to do that to you guys moving forward. And so I just want to be straight with you on that. I'd like to get more information before we set a firm course forward with that. But I think that there is value in having a routine assessment and also giving that opportunity for employees to speak freely about how they think that things are going throughout the organization. So that would be my, that's what I would ask of the commission.
Check with you the next meeting then to follow up maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
And like you say, as needed is always the
Yeah.
course you don't want to take.
Yeah.
Because it'd be proactive as opposed to reactive.
Certainly, yeah.
If there's any benefit to it. that'd be good.
And
Hopefully, we're going to catch any issues that may arise prior to that. Any other discussion on that?
No, that's all I-
Acceptable, okay. We'll move on from that, but you'll look into it. Okay. Commissioner Hatch.
Mike, any other sanitation?
Nothing for sanitation tonight, Commissioner, unless you have questions of me.
None? Thank you.
Okay, I'm not done writing yet. Okay, Commissioner Robbins.
Mike?
Under engineering for the water project, been visiting with the contractor, waiting on materials. So as soon as all the materials are available, we'll get started. Right now, it looks like it's going to be the latter part of this month, but we'll see where that goes based on material availability. So we're in touch there. And as soon as things come in, we'll get started on the areas that need the water main replaced the worst, and then we'll move forward from there. We'll make sure whatever we tackle, we can complete yet this year. So he's hopeful that he's able to complete the entire project, but we'll see where that takes us. For that project, the other project is on the, we have a pay estimate, so I can update you on that project later on. As far as the College Drive project, the contractor is supposed to be getting started with the mill and overlay portion. Of course, the College Drive project, everybody is aware that that's a DOT project, so they are in charge of the contract on that. The city is not in charge of the contract for the contractor. They have a consultant working with them for that work. But right now, as far as the mill and overlay work, when everything is set, they're going to start. The plan is to mill and overlay the north portion of College Drive first. So from 6th Street going north, that'll be phase 1. That phase will be milled and overlaid and complete. Then they'll move on to phase 2, which will be the southern portion from Highway 2 to near the south end of the West Underpass work. Once that work is complete, then we'll move on to phase 3. Phase 3 would be the Highway 19 work. So from Highway 2 to Highway 20. So that's what we can look forward there. It'll be, there's going to be a lot of traffic control. There's a lot of vehicles on College Drive. So, as with any of the projects, when we're doing mill and overlay work, everybody wants their road fixed, but they don't want it fixed when they need to use it, right? So that's just the way it is. We do ask for the public's patience when we're doing that. When it's all done, everybody will be happy. We just have to work together to get through that end.
Any estimate on when it's supposed to start? I mean, estimated start date,
In about a week.
about a week. So when I
The
get to
last
the,
update that I had.
I was
Just in
brought
time
up
for
to me, the
school district.
businesses have brought up to me while I was campaigning that they were never told when the last construction was done, when it was going to be open, when it was going to be closed, blocking off the entrances to their businesses. They would just like to be notified, say, once you get down to 20 or Highway 2 to the underpass, any businesses there, they'd be known that this is starting, this phase 2 will be starting at this time. So you may have some disruption to the entrance of your business, things like that. They would like to know that. So the sooner you can get to me, I have no problem going to the businesses and saying, this is how.
That's part of the work that we,
So-
that's part of the work that we do typically, that's an advertisement. That's part of construction. In the past, when we did it, the south portion, honestly, we did on a weekend, and this was in 2009, and we closed the entire thing and was able to do it there. So there was minimal impact in that particular case. In this case, there's two ways to do it. You can either have it fairly intrusive and it goes quickly,
Yeah.
or you make it less intrusive, but it goes for a long time because you're doing very structured this phase, this phase, this phase. So, and sometimes you have the best laid plan, and then all of a sudden you get into the plan and that plan isn't working quite right. So you
It was
move
just,
on.
it's just more the people were addressing me, the communication aspect for them, for their businesses. So I just wanted to bring that up because they said nobody ever came in and talked to them personally, it was all just hearsay. They never really knew. And maybe they aren't looking in the paper or however you're advertising it, but it was just something that was brought up.
Okay, I will,
It's not going to interfere with the start of school either, is it? Please, please, please.
the way the projects are put together, I mean, in all reality, right? When you put together a project, you put a completion date, right? And sometimes with that completion date, then you put in specific exempt times when they can work, like Devil's Run. We don't want oil going down the day before Devil's Run, so we exempt that. and we exempt certain periods or we do some certain things there. But when you put that completion date, the whole goal is that you give all the contractors as much time to do that work as possible, so you get multiple bids and you get competitive bids. If you move that completion date up, you can, but maybe that contractor can't work on it because he's already full. His schedule's already full. Maybe that contractor can't. So then you pay more for it, right? Right now we have a completion date, and that completion date is into September. So can they work in school? It's not
You
ideal.
are-
I know.
The
I
calls
know.
are gonna be
And
crazy.
The contractor will be aware of that, the consultant's aware of that, the DOT's aware of that, especially on the first day, right? So you can work that a little bit, but is there going to be work happening out there during school? At this point, I believe there will be, right? But we have specific phases and we'll do the best we can, and we just have to get through it.
I just watched a mom and pop company do 4 miles of exactly what they're doing, and they did it in a week.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this is going to be much slower paving than that. I mean, we're talking much, very, 60, 70, 80 tons an hour. We're not talking hundreds of tons on a main line, just go. So big plant, but
No, they were just running a little paver, little end dumps. They weren't bringing in the big guys.
okay. No, if you're on a rural section, you can fly, but in this particular case, there's a lot of things that you have to do. So we'll work through it best we can.
Okay.
That's all I have for engineering.
Okay, how about over on my end? Was that supposed to start about the 1st of August?
The plan there is once College Drive is done, they'll start on our project.
Okay,
And then on our project, we're going to start on the west end, do that section, mill that section, pave that section. Then we'll be milling your area and then paving your area. That's the current plan.
All right.
So, there's a structured approach. We're going to do, the 3 phases, so to speak, of College Drive, and that same contractor has our work. And then we'll start our phases of our work. There is work occurring on, in your section over there with dig outs, doing some of the failed asphalt areas where we're doing a subcut. We're also prepping some of the areas that were gravel, never had asphalt in the past, and giving a proper base for them to place asphalt when they do come. So that work should be complete in the very near future.
okay. That's all for me.
You have streets too, Commissioner.
Streets, okay, yeah.
And in the streets, they're doing the painting. We have to get ready for school on the painting. Did some patching downtown. They have some sign works that they have to get done, but it's work as usual on the street department.
Okay. All right, sounds
That's all I
good.
have to say.
Thank you. Commissioner Pierce.
We got National Night Out tomorrow night, starting at 4:30 to 8. So if you guys would like to come check it out, pretty neat event. PD gets involved, ambulance gets involved. I think search and rescue might be out there this year.
That's at the City Plaza.
Yep, at City Plaza.
We have they have 2 engines that are down. Can you give updates?
So we have one engine that we had to take out of service due to the turbo. They got some parts. We just got them in last Friday, I believe. Aaron picked them up in Grand Forks, brought them back, so I'll get them in this week. Our pumper for 202, they have some plumbing issues. Matt from M&T is working on that. So we can still use 202. It's just a couple of the gauges don't read exactly like they're supposed to, so.
That's what happens when you get new equipment.
Anything else?
Nope.
For Shade Tree, I'm gonna email you all. There's 2 sections of the city code for trimming of shade trees that seem to contradict each other. So I'd like your input on it. Like the one is about, it says specifically if it's on the street side of the property, that they're not allowed to touch it. The homeowner. So there has to be the shade tree committee come out and whoever they hire to trim. The other one says to go ahead and trim your trees, but it doesn't specify whether it's on their property tree or, because it says shade tree in the code. So I had a person contact me about that, asking, well, am I allowed to or am I not allowed to? So I figured we'd take a look and see, what we can do maybe to reword it a little better. Also, the same person had a tree fell down on the property and damaged their vehicle. It was a cottonwood. Well, they were not supposed to plant cottonwoods, but a cottonwood got planted again in the same spot. So it kind of clear out more of what type of trees are supposed to be planted and whatnot. So I'm going to talk with them about that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to.
There is a list, I believe Shade Tree has provided to people that when they're looking for a tree.
But the family didn't plant the tree, the city did. So whose job is it now to, So I'm gonna just let you know, I'll talk to the committee about that and just wanted to keep you updated. Other than that, I believe that's all I have.
Do they want the shade tree removed? What's
The
their
one,
issue?
the one wants it removed because they blow over more easily in the storms. When it was trimmed, the one side, the street side was trimmed, the sidewalk side wasn't. So now it's gonna start leaning because all the weight's on the one side. So can they have it cut down, or do they have to have somebody from the city come cut it down? So just to clarify the code on what's, the rules, the responsibilities.
Yeah, let me know after you talk to them.
We'll do.
Okay.
So, thank you.
All right. Chief,
We, looks like we're gonna be okay with employees. We just hired, 2 new employees. We filled our SRO position, our school resource position. That's with a, current Ramsey County deputy. Unfortunately, we keep stealing from them, but, his name is Tristan Meyer. So he will start that job on the 17th, which is a good thing. And then, we just hired a gentleman today for our patrol position. He's ex-military. He is not currently licensed, so we will be sending him through the academy. Because we didn't have anybody that was, didn't fit our criteria, the licensed individuals. So we're either gonna use the LE or Lake Region State College, their academy class, or send them to Bismarck. And then we are gonna be doing the national night out with the fire department and the rural fire and all that stuff tomorrow. On Wednesday, we'll be meeting with Representative Kelly Armstrong. He'll be in town.
that's tomorrow, isn't it?
That's Wednesday.
Yeah, it's tomorrow, ain't it?
Ours is
It's
Wednesday.
tomorrow too.
Huh?
It's tomorrow is the round table, but he's here for a week or so. You
Yeah,
can-
it's the 3rd.
Oh,
I made
Oh,
sure it was on
okay,
the
it's, all right,
3rd. Yeah, because I ain't
Oh.
here tomorrow.
okay. right.
So it will be the 3rd at 10:30. So it's just a roundtable for law enforcement and concerns and whatnot for what we're facing and stuff like that. So we have all our local law enforcement will be there. You guys want to come by for coffee and donuts, you sure can, but
Okay.
so that's all I have.
Who was the one you hired for your,
Yeah, I knew you were gonna ask that question. His significant other is works at the EMT for the ambulance service. They just hired them, and so his first name's Casey. I forgot his last name, but I'll get that too.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Spencer,
We just update the commission. We're just going to go through a couple budget items today, just to show you guys, just out of our conversations, just a couple tweaks that we made. It'll go really quick. And then look to approve the preliminary budget come August 8th. And we'll get our report to the county on August 9th, and it's due August 10th. So we'll be good, and appreciate your patience and inputs throughout the process. And anticipate it'll be a pretty short meeting on the 8th, but this week, to make sure everything's all right, it's going to be timely. So
okay.
thank you. And then would also welcome Jack Yunker, new city attorney. Excited to have him on the team.
Mhm.
Looking forward to working with him.
I too want to welcome you, Jack. It's good to see you here. I'm looking forward also to working with you. And have you got anything that you want to say to us tonight? Then feel free to do.
I'm happy to be here and I'm excited to work with y'all. So thank you very
Okay.
much.
Well, as we go through portfolios and stuff, we'll be asking you if you got anything that you want to discuss with us pertinent to our information.
And if there's anything legal that comes up, I'll probably interject and let you know.
Appreciate that. Okay. Anything else for the commission? If not, we'll go into old business and budget for 2023, review and briefing, and I guess Spencer.
Yeah, just information will be real quick. The Narcotics Task Force, Mr. Zahn from the task force and Chief Kanowski and I met the other day. And, it's the consensus that as Mr. Zahn had said, that the county is going to take over the financial administration of the Narcotics Task Force. And the way that they want to structure it is two folks from the county will be paid for from the county, and then one police officer from the city of Devils Lake will be a part of the task force. And there's no additional or significant change in the financial obligation of the city. So instead of just transferring out to the Narcotics Task Force, we're going to keep that internally. And again, I would say that that's informed from both the county, the Narcotics Task Force, and the city of Devils Lake Police Department as to the path forward. So you'll see it's all zeroed out in 2023. And whatever the remaining balance is at 2022, we'll work with the Narcotics Task Force and the county on getting the money where it needs to get to. So the other
So that pretty much he's gonna be a city employee.
one member of the,
Well, they haven't, right, it just, the budget was just, they just gave them the money. It looks like, it's just robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's just semantics.
as far as the enterprise fund, really there's only just one or two changes over in the sanitation department. We changed a fuel expense line item, just increased it to accurately reflect what we were anticipating. And then we moved spring and fall cleanup from just one part of the sanitation budget to the inert disposal portion. And we increased that line item just a little bit to what we can anticipate. And Mike and I have been having a conversation on how we can accurately reflect the burden and the cost the spring and fall cleanups are to the sanitation crews, because right now they're just kind of immersed all throughout the operation. So it's something that we're going to have a conversation for moving forward, but we'll continue with the status quo moving forward on that. And then the general fund, out of our last meeting, it was the commission's desire to see if there was a way that we could help the Lake Region Heritage Center a little bit more and try to get some part-time help. I met with Ms. Crosby on Friday, and right now we currently give them 1.5 mils. And, we had conversation, do we give them an extra mil moving forward? And my recommendation is to do it just much like we do kind of the transit and the veterans rides. We give them 1 mil plus, I think it's like 2,500 or 5,000. And so just something similar like that. We're going to, for the Heritage Center moving forward, 1.5 mils plus 7,500. And I asked Ms. Crosby, I said, I want to make sure if we allocate something that it's enough to make a difference and be a positive impact to your operation there. And she gave me, this will help immensely, she said. So I'm optimistic that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And that will be specifically earmarked for a part-time person. Is that what?
Well, what I would say is she comes to you quarterly to give you a report. And so if she's not paying a part-time person and you feel it's more desirable, you will have the opportunity to voice your concern in that regard. So the other one is the LEC rent. It reflects what is requested from the LEC, 59,000 and change. I know it's been a conversation in the past. I think part of the rationale with this is we're going to put 59,000 in there, and between preliminary approval and final approval, you can only decrease expenditures and decrease projected revenue. And so if it's desirable from the commission to have somebody come on behalf of the LAC to give you an update on what they're doing, the path forward, then we can do that in the meantime. But at least for right now, and given the conversation that we had, putting that at 59,000 seemed like the course forward for the time being, from what I could tell from speaking with you guys. And then there's just a couple internal transfers we talked about a little bit. And the equipment reserve is on the back page, which is accurate as I can reflect to date. And it reflects the equipment reserve resolution that's going to be talked about here coming up in the next few items. And in regards to the next few items, I would just stress that, this money is not going to any specific project. It's not going to any specific item. It's more redirecting those funds in different parts of the city's budget and getting it out of the general fund, much like we discussed at a previous commission meeting. So I would welcome any questions that from any of the edits that were provided.
I had a thought on that, but maybe I'll just wait till we get there, till we start talking about it under New business, consider redirecting.
Yeah, so good.
That's all.
Any questions?
Any questions of the commission? No questions? Okay, we'll move on. And consent agenda, no items under there, so we'll go into new business. And the first one will be a change order for the project 220101 mill and overlay. And call on Mike for that.
Mayor, when you say change order, you have to say it with a little bit of excitement because it's always something.
It's exciting if we're going down in cost.
In this particular case, it's really a small dollar amount. It's a change order for importing some topsoil that we needed behind the curb to blend it in a little bit nicer up on Remington Street. So it's the cost of the change order is $1,050 on a $975,000 project. But because we did not have a bid item for that topsoil, it is a change to the contract by adding it. So that's why that change order is brought before the commission. Recommend approval of the change order.
For recommendation, is there motion by Commissioner Pierce,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Robbins? Any discussion? No discussion? Roll call, I guess. It's financial.
Commissioner Hash.
Aye.
Commissioner Robbins.
Aye.
Commissioner Pierce.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamry.
Aye.
President Mo.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is pay estimate for project 220101, the mill and overlay.
This is our street improvement project. As the commission's aware, the street improvement project has various areas to it. And what we try and do is break out the costs associated with those various areas so we can special assess accordingly. We want to make sure that Commissioner Robbins pays his fair share and maybe a little bit more of his special assessment. So we track that accordingly.
Always willing.
So if you look at the different sections, there's quantities and there's current and total. And so we have the mill and overlay portion, which is the first section, Remington Street, which is the change order that we just discussed. And then we have the downtown parking lots. So the total amount for this estimate is $81,604.66. It's for work completed to date. Recommend approval for the payment.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Hamry to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hatch. Any discussion? All in favor, roll call.
Commissioner Hash.
Aye.
Commissioner Robbins.
Aye.
Commissioner Pierce.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamry.
Aye.
President Mo.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is a resolution to establish a building reserve fund.
Yeah, so just, in the vein of all the conversations we've had on how to best allocate the ARPA dollars and the CARES dollars that we received from the COVID era. And again, I would just stress with all these resolutions, they're not allocating any money towards any specific project or anything, but just more so taking them out of the general fund, putting them other places within the city's budget to give us a little bit more flexibility and to more accurately reflect what's going on in the general fund with the large reserve balance that we had. So, in coming in here as a new city administrator, I met with all the commissioners, and one of the things that was commonly said in every conversation in some sort of form or fashion was a desire to invest in the city-owned buildings. And I think, City Hall and the city commission chambers was one of them. And, there's questions as to, do we want to add on? Do we want to build new? Do we want to renovate? And, those are bigger conversations to have moving forward. But, setting that public building reserve fund and transferring $350,000, I think would be a strategic move. And certainly if we wanted to build new or put an additional $350,000 isn't, enough change to get that done. But often a project like that would be loaned or bonded out. And this is a good start is what I would say. And I think a lot of these expenditures, building maintenance type things were, I think we took them out of the infrastructure sometimes, but this just formally establishes a public building reserve fund and transfers $350,000 into it. So I would welcome any questions.
With this is, anything that comes out of this fund's got to be approved by the commission.
Anything over 30,000, I believe. Yes. So if we wanted to repaint and it was $5,000, we could just do that quickly and administratively. But any significant
I can see
restructure.
5, but if you're looking at 30,000, that's only pulling onto your 11 times and you've depleted it without us even knowing about it.
Well, I want to be a
I
I want to be
know.
a successful city administrator. So having a good relationship with the city commission is desirable on my back.
No, I understand that, but I mean, 350,000 just sitting in an account
Yeah.
where 30,000 can be pulled out. That's a pretty good chunk.
Also, too, the commission approves all the bills. So you'll see if there's an expenditure, you guys approve it. So
Me personally, I could see it at 7,500, you know, if you wanted to paint
We
or,
established that a while back, or that 30,000,
If-
was it?
if we, let's say, we have desks that are falling apart and probably desks that haven't been purchased since probably 1990. If we went and we got new desks for everybody, it'd probably be about 15,000 or a little bit more than that. It's something that we can do administratively. We'll keep you informed, certainly, but it's going to be on the list of bills. You'll see it. And any questions you have, we'll gladly answer. And like I said, I desire to be a successful administrator here for you guys. And so I want to keep a good working relationship with you.
Yeah, that's by statute, that, a resolution that 30,000 has been tagged.
And it might be a little lower than that. I don't know specifically, but it's in that neighborhood.
That's an ordinance.
Yeah.
Purchasing.
I was just looking at it going, boy, 11 times, I don't take long to deplete that.
I don't see that happening, but you're right. It could, it's possible, I suppose, but we should catch it long before that, I hope.
And 350, that was just something that you felt comfortable with, and or just kind of.
Yeah. And I think it goes to the fact that we have a lot of, what I'd like to do is I'd like to find a continual revenue source for this so that even if we're not making big expenditures in a year, we're still growing the fund. And so that when we do have big projects, we can tap this fund. And, we have a number of sales tax bonds right now that are out there. And granted, we're going to have to bond for new projects and everything, but, we've got a couple that are coming off soon, like I've mentioned, within the next 5 years. And so that's going to free up some sales tax revenue to direct other places. And you can only transfer so much into the general fund. So, maybe we can allocate a % or two in here and it'll help it grow.
We have seen in the past where buildings need maintenance, the daycare center, we've had to put a new roof on the fire station. All these buildings require, I don't know if the roof's okay on this one, I know there were issues. But there's always something that comes up that could eat up 350,000 in a quick hurry.
Yeah, so Sober Construction's for sale for the street department.
He's not even listening.
Okay, any further discussion on that? We looking for a motion to approve that?
Yes, please.
Motion.
Motion by Hamry,
Second.
seconded by Hatch. Any further discussion? No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, resolution, transfers to the Economic Development for Quality of Life Initiative Fund.
It's another transfer out of general fund into this time the Economic Development Fund, specifically a line item for quality of life initiatives. Again, coming here and just listening to the public conversation that we've had, through an election cycle, as well as meeting with each individual commissioner. Quality of life in the community and investing in its future and enhancing and partnering with our organizations to try and make generational change in this community has been a desire. And so this just taking money out of the general fund, moving it over to economic development, which is the city managed fund. This isn't going to Forward. This isn't going to the chamber. It's
This
the
is an
city of Delaware.
established fund that we have.
We already have, we already have that. And we already have an economic development fund. And this is just transferring the money there, creating a line item for quality of life initiatives, $350,000 there. Any allocation of these funds would need city commission approval. A couple of them come to mind, like the monuments that we discussed earlier. Maybe the city needs to be a positive contributor, whether it's paying for the concrete or some of the engineering or the foundation, whatnot. And the park district's working on some quality of life initiatives if there's a way the city wants to partner with them in that. This just sets aside funds for to set aside for those future initiatives that come before the commission. And we'll have that, and it's for this specific purpose. So that's the recommendation.
Is there a balance in there currently?
There was like a balance of like $29,000. What we do with that fund is, I think it's 8% of sales tax goes in there. We allocate $50,000 to Forward Devils Lake. And in the recommendation in this budget, 25 to the chamber as kind of a blanket sponsorship for all the quality of life that they do. And then whatever the remaining balance went to the growth fund of those sales tax. So this is just throwing $350,000 into that fund. I created a line item, quality of life initiative. So we have that bank now. It'll be probably 360,000 in the reserve balance. You'll see.
Okay, yeah, that was the only conflict that I had, just that confusion of where it's at, and what it's specifically to be used for. Because in my head, I was thinking we would just have one separate fund, let's call it a new fund, and the balance of the monies that are in the general budget right now would go there. But you're just trying to do the same with just a little different.
Putting in an
approach,
economic,
different-
putting in an economic development,
spots.
and I think quality of life is economic development. If you talk to an economic development person, that's what they'll say.
So what would happen if, say, a year from now, we decide we need a new PD and we need a bunch of money for the police department building? And can we pull from some of these spots as well?
Just like you're doing today, you could say transfer money out of the economic development reserve fund into the general fund. You could do that, just like we're doing right now.
Okay.
And there really shouldn't be any purchases coming out of this one?
Not without our permission, probably.
Well, I mean, when you invest into quality of life, it's not like you're going to be buying, cushions or something for a chair where 30,000 affects this one too.
No, Commissioner.
Okay.
No.
I just want to make sure that this 350,000 isn't being promised to certain entities, at $30,000 increments.
That would require commission's approval.
Yeah, and my sole concern was just keeping it track,
Yep.
keeping it straight and
Mm-hmm.
easily straight. Everything.
Yeah.
But okay, so you need a motion to approve that one.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer to the quality of life fund.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Robbins,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Pierce. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Resolution, transfer to equipment reserve fund.
Yeah, so in looking at the general fund and, how can we create a long-term sustainable process moving forward in regards to, when I look at the general fund, our three largest departments, fire, police, and streets. And the largest expenses that come out of that are oftentimes the equipment. And I think squad cars, I think, Chief and I were just talking about SCBA, the air packs that the firefighters wear. And those are going to have to be renewed soon, and those are pretty expensive. And so if you look at our equipment reserve, which I included here, and I would also acknowledge anybody watching online, we're aware this probably isn't very user-friendly, but the agenda and the links are on the city's website if you do want to follow along on demand. But in the equipment reserve sheet that I supplied you, you'll notice that in 2021, police and fire's equipment reserves aren't very big, but our public works, they're pretty healthy, and we're able to supplement streets equipment reserves through our highway distribution fund. We don't have the same mechanism like that for our police and fire, and so it can be burdensome to the taxpayer when we have to have those unconventional expensive equipment purchases. And so originally, my desire is if we can try and create some long-term benefit and try and get their equipment reserves getting going. And I think about the police department, and in 2022, what should be lower personnel costs, given some turnover that we had in the police department, making sure that those savings end up in their equipment reserves so that we can get that going. Because we've got a desire that we'd like to get 2 new police squad cars every 2 years, but I think next year we're only going to be able to get 1, maybe the year after that just 1, but we want to get on a sustainable 2-a-year course. And as well as our fire department, they have equipment that comes up not frequently, but when it does, it's expensive. And so we want to get their equipment reserve going as well. So I say specifically because these are in the general fund, getting them in the equipment reserves for police and fire, it creates a long-term benefit in years to come where we can transfer this money in, and it's all not supplemented with property tax or sales tax.
How many squad cars do you have?
We have 8 squad cars currently.
Are they all sitting about the same mileage or?
No, Of course, yeah, the newer ones have lower ones, but our highest ones are 110 or so,
How many years did that take?
about 8.
So if we're able to do one a year and keep it rotating like that, is that what you're thinking?
There's, we're just in having conversations. I think desirably we try to get to 2, but maybe it's 1 year here, it's 2 there, it's 1 here. It's a
And
case
we're
by
in
case
catch-up
basis.
right now because we have like 2 or 3 of them that were purchased right away. So we have a whole bunch of them right now that are 110, 120. And we've been showing a huge increase in our maintenance issues that we're having with our vehicles currently when it comes to, a lot of it is because we don't house our cars. So winter's really rough on our cars. And so with that, a lot of like our transmission gets bad. And we've had, of course, transmissions are going to be typically hard on squad cars because we drive pretty rough at times and higher speeds. And we've been having manifold issues with some of the Fords. And so we always have, with our older vehicles, we've been showing a lot of maintenance issues.
Is there a way to find to get 2 this year, Spencer?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Is there a way to find to get 2 this year?
I would, in talking with Chief, I think that we've set a strategy for 1 this year with the hopes that we, in 2022, the personnel savings we put in there, that we could get 2 in 2024.
We need to have your vehicles up and running.
So would just request and specifically just the numbers, it's 150, 90 for police and then 60 for fire.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Hamry,
Second.
second by Commissioner Pierce. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So with that being said, we'll have transferred about $1 million or designated about $1 million out of the
Yep, I think
COVID funds.
I think in purchasing, you think of the COVID funds that you're transferring them out, and then plus in 2023 purchasing the siren radios, it equates to be about $1,010,000.
Yeah,
Roughly. A little over.
20,000 by 12th grade education. But all right. So then the balance will just remain in there for whenever. The balance of the COVID funding, the ARPA funds and stuff.
Yep, and the way that the reporting for those funds, the lines are pretty blurry, and when you report as revenue loss, general government services are now a permissible use for them. How you explicitly communicate those general government services is to be determined. So I think that there's some questions with that, but this is a good long-term strategy. And I would say right now, what's projected is, I had talked about the general fund reserve balance all the way from 2003 to 2019. It was an average of like 42%. 2019, right, pre-pandemic, it was 38. With all of these moves and the proposed budget, we're at about 45%. So we're very healthy. And I would say a lot of our budget, and I had the epiphany, but there are a lot of pass-through funds. So there's about $875,000 that's revenue that comes in that we give to, intended for other organizations that go, that we're just kind of the fiscal agent and just funnels right through us. So it's even more than 45 if you want to talk about strictly our operating budget.
So what would be the balance after siren and 1.10?
Like 3.6 million about, I think, after 2023 projected.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3.6 million.
Okay. We've already approved that, so we'll go on to the next one. Approval for the CRP contract for Wellfield property. Mike.
15 or so years ago when the city purchased our Wellfield property, when we purchased the property, we executed a purchase agreement with the property owners. And as part of that purchase agreement, we had an agreement that said that we would lease that property back to that property owner for the rest of their natural life. for $5 an acre or whatever the annual property tax was for that parcel. In some cases, the property was in CRP, and in that particular case, the property owner was allowed to keep it in CRP, collect the CRP payment, and then pay the city the annual rent that was due. For us, CRP is a very good, the Conservation Reserve Program is a very good wellhead protection strategy for us because there's not active farming, you're not having chemicals and things like that. And so we like CRP grass areas adjacent to our well field for that wellhead protection strategy. In this particular case, we have a property owner that's had, we had purchased approximately 40 acres from the property owner, and he has about just under 20 acres in CRP. He wants to renew that CRP contract. And so the payment would go to the property owner, and then he would continue to pay his rent due to the city. There's numerous documents that are associated with the CRP contract. In front of you is just the CRP contract, but there's numerous other documents. So I would recommend approval for the CRP contract, and then all the other documents associated with it that the city would sign off on so that it can be enrolled in CRP. Recommend approval.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Hamry,
Second.
second by Commissioner Hatch. Any further discussion? Being none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hash.
Aye.
Commissioner Robbins.
Aye.
Commissioner Pierce.
Aye.
Commissioner Hammond.
Aye.
President Mo.
Aye. Motion passed. And the final one is motion to approve payment of the list of bills as submitted.
I shall make a motion to pay the bills.
Commissioner Robbins made a motion,
Second,
Second.
motion to pay the bills.
second by Commissioner Pierce. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hash.
Aye.
Commissioner Robbins.
Aye.
Commissioner Pierce.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamry.
Aye.
President Mo.
Aye. Any other business come before the commission? None being? Meeting adjourned. Good job.
I don't know.
I'll get that.